thank you for tuning in. This is Conversations here on NTA. Now, this is a program that affects you and me. We talk about everything under the sun, and today's topic is actually one of them. We have in the house today Halima, one of our regular sisters in the house.
Hello viewers, and welcome to the conversation.
And we also have Professor Andrew. Professor, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Professor Andrew Zamani. I'm a clinical psychologist. I teach at Nasarawa State University.
Okay, thank you so much for coming into the conversation
Thank
room.
you.
Our topic today is self-control. I'm sure anyone that is watching right now can relate to it in some way or another, when you go overboard or when you're just under it. We'll be talking a lot more about that when we get back here on Conversation.
Yes, it does. It applies to Nigeria, not only Nigeria, it's all over the world. You notice people, maybe a woman must have quarreled with her husband at home, and she tends to transfer the aggression probably when she's in a cab, and you see her talking to the driver anyhow and all that. Again, when people are driving on the road, you see them breaking traffic rules, they don't obey it, just misbehaving and all that. So, and again, outside that, there are issues that ordinary mind will not make one to get angry, but you see some people flaring, getting angry just because of a little thing, little issue, little problems. And it's really common here in Nigeria. It's very common here in Nigeria. So I believe that most Nigeria have a little madness.
Yes. Look at the condition of this country today. Look at the pain we pass through, you know, the kind of frustration, you know, we are really penetrated. So it's like, look at people around the street, like in Wuse Market here, you can find people running on the streets, mad, but go to their place, you know, talk to them, you understand that most of their madness is hour-to-hour madness, but not even really 5-minute madness. And
you know, like the going says, there's in every king there's a kid. You know, in the sense that, what does that mean? That in every king there's an atom of madness. You know, there's something that must show that the person, you know, will get angry at maybe at something. We are all humans, funny enough, you know. You cannot dispute that. But as an average Nigerian, trust me, they can be mad, you know. Just someone provoking you, or you trying to provoke another person, you know, can actually exhibit that 5 minutes madness. Because
madness is kind of temporary madness, and we have permanent madness. Okay, when it's temporary madness, it has to do with a delusion. Possibly you believe there are things you could do on your own. Your self-thought kind of pushes you to do things that falls out of ARI or out of an equation. That is when you see some Nigerians exhibit that daily madness, or kind of a, should I say, psychiatric break, a temporary psychiatric break.
That is the psychologist aspect of it. To me, I take it as the way I choose to be, or the way I choose to live. If a human being is there, you decided you make up your mind to be happy. No matter what will come your way in the course of the day, you overcome and your happiness will continue.
For we Nigerians, I think it's more than 5 minutes, due to, you know, the situation in the country and hardships and all of that. Well, I don't think that should be, since it's been certified by physicians or doctors or whatsoever, I think it applies to all human beings. We Nigerians, I think it's more than 5 minutes.
Our topic today in the conversation room is self-control. We have Halima and Professor Andrew in the house to tell us a little bit about what self-control really is.
For the sake of this discussion, let us define self-control as the ability to exercise restraint in the expression of emotions, in the satisfaction of appetite, and in response to provocation or stress.
Okay.
Self-control can be an excessive behavioral reaction. It could also be a behavioral deficit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah. So my love for soft drinks.
Well, if it is just love for soft drinks, it's good. I mean, if you have love for soft drinks, if you have love for sweets, I mean, there's nothing wrong in loving to take anything or to use anything. But if it is such that has become an addiction, definitely it lies within lack of self-control.
Okay. Okay, so is there a thin line between self-control and addiction? At which point does it become an addiction? I love soft drinks, and not juice, the bubbly ones. You know, though I can't call names for obvious reasons, but the bubbly ones. You know, when the weather is hot,
Yeah.
or at night, or just because it's Wednesday or Thursday, I just sometimes always need to have it. How do I know if it's an addiction?
Well, it's an addiction if you find out that you cannot actually do without it. If you become unhappy, if you become restless when you don't have it,
Okay.
then it's an addiction.
Ah.
It becomes an addiction when you have to do everything possible to have it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
once you lose the element of personal control over any issue, once you lose discipline in the expression of yourself or in your response to situations, then you don't have self-control.
Okay.
I was just wondering.
Yes.
So where and when do you know you have reached that? Because sometimes we just start this thing casually.
Mm-hmm.
You take whatever you need to you want to take, or you do the things you want to do. It's just a casual thing, and sometimes you don't even know that you can go overboard on it. So how do you know? When do you know that you are reaching the danger line, that you need to draw a line and say, okay, I need to start doing something about my love for this or my hatred for it?
I'll tell you one thing. One of the things that cheats people is their carelessness with themselves.
Okay.
Most of us do not study ourselves. Most of us don't pay attention to ourselves. You know, we just run our lives the way we want. You get the point? And so it is possible for you to know, to miss it, to miss the knowledge that you have lost control over your actions and over your behaviors, because, you know, naturally you don't pay attention to yourself. The second issue is that we are usually very mindless of the reactions of people towards us, or the comments that people make about the things that we do. Even our spouses or our children, you know, can just tell you. The other day, my daughter was telling me, "Daddy, you are bloating." You know, you're bloating.
She said that.
I then got to know that, you know, I've probably engaged in some excessive eating behaviors, lack of exercise, and there's therefore the need to adjust my lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to pay attention to the things we do. We need to pay attention to how we relate with people and how people respond to us.
Okay.
These are lessons of life.
Okay. So you
that
believe
actually help to keep us within boundaries.
Okay. So you believe in staging interventions, even though the person is not a professional, is not qualified.
Oh yeah.
You believe in that?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
Because sometimes these interventions that families hold, it's they can be quite, you know, when they call family meeting on your head now. Halima,
no,
you know.
no, that's not what I mean.
But
Because
that's
again,
kind of like an intervention.
yeah, well, I mean, yes, like an intervention, but if it's a meeting on you, then it means it's really serious, isn't it? It means it's really very, very serious.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that we encourage people to do is to be free. You know, just be free, even with your comments. You know, if I need to make a comment about a friend who is going overboard on a habit, you know, I I should do it constructively so that I do not injure his ego, so that I don't pull down his self-esteem. You know, that's the way it should be. I should do it in such a way that he looks up to me for comments, you know, about his actions, you know, subsequently.
Okay.
Or that he seeks advice when he feels the need arises, you know, in order for him to keep himself in check and in order for him to enjoy his relationship with people. You know, sometimes it's the way that people respond to us that actually keeps us off from them. And while we are off from them, we're not helping ourselves. And so we bury ourselves very deeply in these habits to the extent that we lose full control. And when you lose full control, there's a tendency for one to develop a behavioral tendency that we call learned helplessness or giving up.
Okay.
You know, you lose confidence in yourself. You lose confidence in the capacity of the environment, your associates to help you, to the extent that you just flow freely in the excessive negative behavior.
So if I get you, Prof,
Yes.
the first step, if I may say, to knowing whether you're going off the board or under it is knowing yourself.
Yeah, sure.
So it's only when you know yourself
True.
that you can be able to know when you are going the extra mile or you're going off board in your love for certain things.
And I encourage also that people should learn to talk about what they know are their weaknesses and to, you know, seek advice, probably not help, but, you know, just discuss it freely.
Okay.
Most of the times when I get it wrong, I laugh at myself. Even in the public, you know, I call attention to something that, you know, I'm doing wrong that I can't help myself about. And, you know, everybody says, no, but Prof, you know, it's not possible that you can't help yourself. But, you know, I'm seeking help. And I get the help when people make comments. So I think that one of the things that makes people grow and what makes people to really thrive and to adapt and to adjust meaningfully in society is they're being genuine, being open.
I just want to ask another thing. You know, sometimes you meet somebody that just does something, you know, and say, it's my nature.
He's given up, probably.
Is that an excuse?
He's
it's
given
my
up.
nature.
He's given up. Or he just does not want to change. Or he is acting out. Or he's defending. These are all possibilities.
Okay.
You know, and you know, such people are to be pitied. They are to be pitied because they are not in the line to change. But if an observation is made, even if you have a rational cause for your action, you know, it's good to acknowledge that somebody else is reading it differently, isn't it? So it gives you an opportunity to explain, not to defend, just explain it and let people respond. Sometimes people who misjudged you would eventually say, hey, look, I was wrong. He's been right all along. You know, and that positive feedback is reinforcement, you know, for you to, you know, keep on keeping on.
I have another issue. Sorry, Nikki. You know, sometimes you see people driving.
Yeah.
It's so easy for you to see somebody driving and something just happened all of a sudden. You see, you know, the next thing you see is the hand or
waka, this and that, you know.
So, where do we place this? Is it also the lack of self-control, or is it just an expression that happens? Is it adrenaline action, or how do you call it?
I was actually going to ask something along those lines.
You know, tension is building up because our social and economic conditions are really very poor. They are taking their toll on us. And so the threshold, you know, for aggression has actually increased. And so you find very few people who are actually temperate, who are calm, and who are willing to take it. More so that right now it is becoming like a reproach to be a gentle person. You have to fight, you
Yes.
have to rush. you get the point.
You're too soft.
Here, exactly. So these are the issues. And so this is what manifests in what we call road rage.
Yes.
Everybody is in a hurry. Everybody wants his space, you know. And in the meantime, everybody wants to preserve their integrity. It's not possible because in the process of trying to have your way, you hurt somebody, and that guy is gonna definitely react. So you know, this is the situation. I think that some government agencies would have to deliberately, you know, begin to pay attention to the behavioral consequences of their areas of operation, especially as it relates to their core mandates. Because you have used the traffic situation, let me talk about the Federal Road Safety Corps.
Okay.
The police, the traffic wardens, and every other person that has a responsibility to, you know, play a role in traffic control. Most times, these agencies increase the level of aggression on the roads.
Okay.
It's very early in the morning. Between Nyanya and between Mararaba and Kubo, you know, there is heavy traffic. People don't want to be late, but they can't help it.
Yeah.
They don't have their means of transportation. They have to depend on public transport, and the driver doesn't care. He's just doing his own job. And so he stops maybe 50 times within a space of 50 meters. All right? You're already touchy about the issue. And then seated beside you is somebody who insisted that he would be the extra passenger in the vehicle, you know, so that he can meet up. You don't have control over it because there's no place to report such things to, you know, for redress. And so you grudgingly accept that this person should squeeze you, you know. And while he's there, he's not really mindful of the fact that he has, you know, as a last comer, he has infringed on your rights, more or less. The driver has infringed on your rights, more or less. Then you manage to drive past the military checkpoint, and what's ahead of you? VIO. You know, the VIO stops the vehicle. You as a passenger, you're already, you know, unhappy. You probably would have a choice to drop and to pick another
one.
But they are causing another traffic holdup because they must check all the vehicles that are behind the vehicle in which you are passenger.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the driver has all the particulars except that he has overloaded. They are not paying attention to the overloading. They are paying attention to, you know, you get the point. So it gets to a point that there's a build-up of tension. People are unhappy, and you just need a trigger.
The trigger, yes.
You just need a trigger, and everybody goes overboard. Or let's assume that it's a private driver. Just when he has escaped the VIO, he finds the road safety. He meets the road safety, and they do all their checks, and he's cool. But they must find fault with him. They must find fault with him in the name of doing their jobs. So it becomes, you know, a banana situation, a banana republic situation. Everybody is angry with the other person, all right? And God bless my colleague, if I'm the one in that situation, when I get to office, and he just cracks a costly joke. You know, there's going to be a bandwagon effect and so on and so forth. So the work situation gets affected, all right? Because work is bad today, home is going to be bad. Because when I return home, God bless my wife.
And kids.
And kids,
and
you know,
kids, yes.
if they do not respond to me in the manner that I expect them to respond to me. Or sometimes they may, but because I'm already angry, I project my anger from outside on them. And it goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah. Professor Andrew, what about people that already know they have a short fuse? I already know I can be temperamental, but I would like to control it. Some of us will just grab our Bible and say, Jesus, take the wheel, you know. But some other people don't really know what to do. What do you do when you already know, I know it's my problem, how do I fix it?
Yeah, I think I agree with you that people should pray, you know, that God helps them. But you see, God would not give you hands and then come down from heaven and brush your teeth. You got to brush your teeth yourself.
Yeah.
So while you are praying, it is very important for you to be alert to the sources of help, possible sources of help. We are blessed with the gift of companionship in friendship. You know, what is it that is too much to share with a friend about a weakness that you have, you know, or about a help that you need? You know, so long as you are convinced that this is a very trustworthy friend, there's nothing wrong. Secondly, it is possible that you've been disappointed before. You trusted someone so much that you just let it all out and you were betrayed.
Yeah.
Now, there are technically competent sources of help that you can actually explore, like, you know, going to the hospital in the first instance, even though it may not be a medical problem. For you to just say, look, you know, I get headache when I get angry with someone, or, you know, I indulge in ABC habits. I can't control myself. The doctor would know what to do. If you need to see a psychologist, if you need to see a counselor, if you need to see a psychiatrist, whoever that you really need to see, a referral process to a neutral source of help can be given to you. And in that context, you will have the safety of disclosing what the issues are and getting help for them.
Yes, but talking about getting help.
Yes.
How easy is it to get people to see you or people in your line of work? I dated someone and our relationship kept falling apart off and on.
Yes.
And, you know, when he came back again, I said, you know what, I really feel you or we should see a professional. We should see someone that can counsel us.
Yeah.
And he went all crazy on me, like, oh, so I'm the one that is crazy, or so I'm the one with the problem. You're trying to tell me that I've lost my mind.
Yeah.
Needless to say, the relationship ended soon after that. But there are people like that, that if you suggest that they see someone or seek professional help, for them, they read it as you're calling me crazy.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
I have a counseling center, for instance, where I see people. I'm not sure that it's very popular because I work outside town.
Okay.
I come in once in a while, but we have established, and I have more hands now, and they are competent. You know, all that I think people need to do is to network with media organizations like yours, NTA, you know, so that they would pick information about such places that offer help. You know, there's currently no mental health directory. There's no directory for psychologists or counselors in the town. We've been working with Gede Foundation, you know, to develop that so as to enable people, at least in the city of Abuja, get to know that there are facilities
available
to help people who need help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prof, if I may ask, you know, I'm still reflecting on the scenario you created. It's, you know, it's really in my head.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, now having gone through what you just narrated, and I go to the office, and of course, like you said, the cyclical effect from the office back home. I'm just looking at it because it is the situation we are in the country at the moment. What is there a need for institutions, organizations, offices to have an environment? I don't know how you can call it. Is it a unit or something where people can go and I don't know whether to relieve themselves.
Yes, something like that.
Because I'm looking at it, how this affects the productivity of the person.
I agree with you.
And I think if this is the situation, and I do agree totally, because it is the situation we're going through,
yes,
that Nigeria is losing as a country. We're losing manpower. We're losing effective productivity. How do we address this so that we are all the ones losing out?
There is a corporate arrangement right now all over the world called Employee Assistance Programs.
Okay.
And Employee Assistance Program helps people who have challenges at work, you know, to disclose these challenges in the context of how it affects their productivity, their efficiency, you know, in order for them to get help, the kind of help that will relieve them, you know, to bounce back to their duty posts.
Okay.
It is working in many corporate organizations like the NNPC, Chevron, Shell, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, very few ministries, departments, and agencies have imbibed, you know,
yes,
this principle. And so you find out that if you have a problem and you express it, it is noted against you.
Against you.
You get the point. And that means that when it is time for performance appraisal, it is recalled. It is, well, because it's documented, it is recalled. You are reminded about it and convinced, you know, that that is probably the reason why you won't have your next promotion. What I would do is encourage human resource departments, you know, to provide avenues for debriefing of people who are sufficiently disturbed, sufficiently embarrassed by their social and work circumstances, people who even have problems at home that, you know, impinge on their work performance, you know, to come just disclose. And, you know, through the human resource departments, you know, the proper professionals to handle, you know, can now be invited to give an in-house help.
Okay.
Okay. Now, still going back to that that word I said, it's my attitude, it's my nature.
Yes.
No, not talking about the office now.
Yes.
You know, there are lots of things we do. Overspeeding on the road, on our own. So many things like that. You know, I have been to an occasion where I see a lady with 2 plates of food filled up. And I was asking myself, I actually thought she brought for somebody, but I saw it was for her. And just yesterday, somebody was telling me about a lady that went for a training program that is presently going on. And she went the first time, took some food, you know,
put that
emptied it somewhere. Went the second time, emptied it somewhere. And the third one had a field and sat down and was eaten. How do you see that? Is that is that a problem of lack of self-control?
Oh, sure. But certainly more related to indiscipline, you know, because every form of lack of self-control, you know, has an element of indiscipline.
Because somebody may argue that probably it's poverty, the person doesn't have food at home.
I was going to say that,
you know, and that's why
maybe her
she's
children
doing
don't have
that,
food, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but there are social norms, there are culturally defined ways of, you know, expressing yourself in the public. You know, poverty is no excuse for, you know, grabbing. It's no excuse for grabbing. Okay, how much would she? I mean, how much can she grab? You know, at a time, and how long would it take her? You get the point. Yeah. It's just being uncultured, and you know that if there are people out there who observe that and are willing to lend a helping hand, such people, you know, who inadvertently became indisciplined because of their conditions of poverty, they are going to adjust. Okay? Now, I just imagine that whoever makes the effort to reach such a person, you know, is kind enough, you know, to offer further help. All right? Not beyond the habit, but also to include, you know, giving assurances or, you know, giving guidance, you know, to such people, you know, on how to get out of their poverty, albeit, you know, in the short run.
Okay.
You get the point?
Yeah.
And I know that once you show interest and you keep the connections, these people are going to keep coming back to you. Not so that you will indulge them, but so that you show them the way out. There are people that actually need help like that. Now, most people who say, that's my habit, are just trying to throw you off, to say, look, I can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it either. I don't see any indication that you have capacity to help me.
Or they don't, they just believe it's normal.
Well, it's true that most of the time, you've heard me say defend many times during this conversation, because what people do is that once they are confronted with their weaknesses, you know, the first reaction is to deny that this is me. You know, everybody wants to be praised. Everybody wants to be a champion. You get the point. One of the things that we try to avoid is, you know, being put down. And more so when our attitudes, our behaviors give us out. Yeah. You get the point?
I need to follow up on that.
We'll take a quick break. Okay. We're talking about self-control in the conversation room. Professor Andrew is schooling us on the topic, and I'm learning so much. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
I don't think in gender boxes at all. I just get on with it.
A man that would dare to ask the wife, who do you think you are? That is a real man.
In fact, our husbands are our firstborns. The husband needs more attention than even the children.
It's not only about work, it's not only about family. They need to take the time to look after themselves, and we don't do that.
They took my money, I paid every fees. I never asked to be hoisted as a governor. I wanted to be allowed to go out there and contest for the position of governorship candidate first.
There's nothing greater than looking back and seeing that while you were aspiring, you were able to inspire others.
Empower to women. Yes. We need to have more women, more multitaskers around Nigeria to get Nigeria working.
Definitely.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. See if she wants to ask something. No, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day, I got tired of all that and I said,
Thanks for joining in here in the conversation room. We have Professor Andrew and Halima, and our topic today is self-control. I know you have a question or a follow-up for Professor Andrew, Halima.
Yeah. Prof was talking about a situation where somebody does certain things. Of course, there's the possibility or the thinking that it has to do with some level of poverty. Now, I'm also looking at it. We hear of a lot of people looting money more than they need. Now, this has nothing to do with poverty. What do we call that? That is also, can I also say that is the lack of self-control? Because, of course, you keep piling money, you keep money in certain places, you will never use, your children may never need it because you have more than enough. What do we call that? And how do we address that?
Halima, permit me to impute my value judgment on this matter. You know, for me, it is beastly. It's really beastly. Can you imagine that right now in Nigeria, you know, people are ascribing lost money to animals?
Yes.
Monkeys going to farmhouses and, you know, just scattering away millions of naira. Snakes swallowing money. Elephants going to banks and, you know, robbing banks. You get the point? There's something really not wrong with our psyche. I think this is more in the realm of insanity than just mere loss of self-control. And I think something needs really to be done. I'm one of those that advocates that people's pedigree should be thoroughly investigated before they take political appointments or before they are even voted into offices. I believe also that there is a need right now for our leaders, you know, to be made to train in political training institutes. You know, they have to be compelled to undergo some period of training, maybe 3 or 6 months. You know, but come to think of it, what's NIPS for? What is the Nigerian Defense College for? What's the National Institute of International Affairs for? We have so many of these, you know, that churn out leaders, you know, both of the private and the public sectors. And yet we don't appear to have any impact. So probably it's not the training, but that the rest of us, the masses, would have to rise and insist that our leaders must behave in a particular way, otherwise we throw them out. We must set the standards, we must insist on it and give up sentiments, you know, because one of the things that is affecting us now in this country is psychophancy. And psychophancy lies in the realm of that. I have been disappointed many times when world leaders come to talk about the need to give young people a future. And no sooner than they leave would young people mount the streets, you know, campaigning and canvassing for leaders that oppress them and cheat them out of life. You get the point?
Yes.
So you begin to wonder what really is going on. So back to the issue of poverty. Definitely looting may have a basis from an insecure upbringing. You know, somebody, you know, who loots when he's in office in adulthood probably had a very tough childhood and just couldn't make it, you know, but by God's grace and probably chance, now he's in office and he feels, look, this is my time. It's my turn. And you've had it many times in the civil service. Wait for your turn. This is my turn. You know, let me take all that I need to take. And given the fact that until recently there was no discipline in government, until recently, you know, people could just act with impunity and go scot-free. But now we know that whatever you do now can be investigated many years later.
Yes.
So probably that would put a check. Secondly, we have a group of people that are coming up who probably who have grown up in with silver spoons. They've grown up with silver spoons. They've been indulged all their lives, but lack capacity to do anything other than to do what will sustain opulence. All right? So I have, now that it's my turn to be on the saddle, you know, let me do it like my dad did. Let me do it like my uncle did, you know, so that we will continue to perpetuate ourselves. You know, this is what's happening. People are stealing money that they don't need.
They don't need.
Now we are not, most of our leaders are not stocking money in banks, but in their homes, in their farmlands, digging soccerways and so on and so forth to store money. You know, it's pathology, absolute psychopathology. They need help.
Okay, Prof, bringing it back home to, you know, the regular home setting, there are men that naturally, in their nature, is their nature to shout at their wife, shout at their children. It's, there's some women that claim it's their nature to shout at the children, shout at their maids, shout at their husbands. It happens. How do they, what's the first step to getting better or to seeking some sort of check to that? How do you get better from shouting all the time? Some people can't help themselves.
Yeah, and it's even worse when the husband shouts, the mother shouts, and of course, with time, the children also learn to shout. They would shout while they are kids, but when they become of age, they too will shout. So you have dad shouting, mom shouting, and then adult children shouting. You get the point. So when you have such a situation, you know that something is obviously very wrong, because the parties do not see anything wrong
with it.
in that. They don't see anything wrong with shouting at each other. That's the way they get things done. That does not, however, exonerate their behaviors. They need help. If you're a neighbor, point that out. And the way to do is just, you know, call attention to a scene that you observed.
Okay.
You know, I observed that you were shouting at your husband and your husband was shouting at you. How do you feel about it? And probably they will tell you that it's been distressing to behave in that manner. Then you propose that they should seek help. It's possible that they would ask you, okay, where do I seek help?
It's also possible they'll tell you to mind your business.
You get the point? Yeah, if they tell you to mind your business, that's okay. All right? Don't take offense that they told you, but you've done your job.
bit,
You've done your bit. You've performed your civil obligation towards a brother, towards a sister, towards a neighbor. And so, you know, but you've planted a seed anyway. You planted a seed that would germinate one day, in the sense that the neighbor who took offense at your intervention would one day come to say, hey, look, that thing that you told me that day, you know, has not left me. I need you to, you know, to guide me. Now, there's nothing wrong in you saying, I don't know where exactly you need to go, but you can seek out a counselor. And you find counselors, you know, in our religious organizations, pastors, imams, and so on. Excellent counselors. But there are also professional counselors. You know, they can seek out information about counselors, you know, on the net, you know, and, you know, the net would give them information about somebody who is within their environment. Yeah, I mean, but if they don't have access, you know, the hospital is a safe place. You can talk about everything and anything under the sun in the hospital. You just go to the hospital and, you know, ask to see a doctor. And naturally, you will start from the general outpatient. And general outpatient doctors are professionals. They are family practitioners. That's what we call them. They do family medicine. Yeah, so you can discuss every and anything within that context. They would now know where to place you and how to direct you, either within the organization or outside. You know, so most of the help that people really need can first be accessed through the hospital, you know, even though it may not be medical. Now, I want to tell you about, you know, a few other issues. There's what we call obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yes.
You know, it's medical and has to be treated. People who are so very parsimonious, who are too rigid, who are over clean, who are stereotypic, you know, in their behaviors, to the extent that, you know, they insist that certain things must be done their way, all right? Or it must be done in a particular way. You know, this is a glass of juice. You know, if I were an OCD, I would know that Halima has touched this bottle or this glass of juice, and that as a result of her touching it, it shifted from its original position. And you would see me trying to, you know, keep it back in the position that I thought I kept it, because Halima touched it. All right? There are people who keep checking on their doors many times before they finally leave home. And probably when they are at home, when they are at work, they are worried. You know, that the door may not be locked.
Yes.
You get the point?
Yes.
There are people who would want to smell, you know, a food item before they eat it.
I know a lot of people that do that, actually.
You get the point?
Yeah.
There are people who are just hand washers.
Germophobes, scared of.
You get the point?
Yes.
They're just professional hand washers. Whatever they touch, they go to the bathroom to wash up. You get the point?
I'm guilty.
So, but you know, there are people. These things, you know, exist in people at different levels. But when it gets to the point that it is very disruptive of normal life routine, then you know that you have missed it, that you need to do something about it. Okay. It's good to be firm. It's good to have standards. Nobody is saying you shouldn't have. But your insisting on standards should not be a disturbance to somebody else. It shouldn't deny people of their rights. It shouldn't make people unhappy. So long as the standards you are trying to maintain are in the books and can be they can be adjudicated, that's okay. We have people who have self-control issues with substances, alcohol, cigarettes, tutolin, and so on and so forth.
Sex?
Yeah, sex. Sex is an addiction. Gambling.
Gambling.
All these things, you know, are there. So you ask yourself, why is it so? Why is it so? For instance, addiction to sex may just be a way of, you know, affirming one's relevance, a way of trying to gain acceptance, because, you know, all along one has grown up in a deprived and an emotionally deprived situation.
Okay.
Yeah, or it could start as an acting out behavior by a child or by a woman or by a guy, you know, acting out against somebody who is so very close, you know, who has offended them to the point that they want to get back. You get the point? Yes. And one thing links to another, and then there's loss of control. Yes.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but I would just like you to just give us a summary to the viewers out there on self-control, what people need to do.
Well, first is for us to know ourselves. Two, for us to be conscious of our tendencies. Three, for us to be open to comments by people and to accept criticism, you know, with grace. No matter how painful some criticisms might be, our attitude towards these criticisms actually matter, because they help to keep us in check. Everybody is entitled to their opinion about us. We should give that to the public. Yes, so whatever they say, if we do not agree, it is our responsibility to just explain ourselves and not try to force them to believe what we want them to believe about us. And in so doing, you know, many people who are trapped in this ring of lack of self-control can really get help, because by their disposition of openness, they would be willing to seek help where it is necessary. Yeah, and the world will continue to be a good place for them.
A better place for all of us. Thank you, Prof, for joining us in the conversation room. Halima, it's been great having you here as well. Your thoughts on our social media handles are vital to us. We would always love to hear from you, especially on today's topic, self-control. The handles are available on the screen. We would love to see or hear what you have to say. This is Nike in the conversation room saying thank you so much for joining us, and see you again soon. Goodbye.